A genie snaps its fingers and you forget Japanese. You're banished to an island until you can speak it again. You're given 5 tools, including Human Japanese Intermediate, and Satori Reader. What 2 additional resources do you request for yourself?
Well, I don't know if this is cheating or not, but one resource I would probably bring would be my...
Do you still consider yourself... I feel like I know what your answer is going to be to this, but do you still consider yourself a student of Japanese?
Oh, of course.
As well as a teacher? Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
So,
I don't know, man. I wouldn't really trust someone who was just like, oh, no, yeah, just, I know it all.
no, fair enough, fair enough. I knew you were going to say that. So,
Yeah.
But I have to ask then, after 28 years, right, you've been studying Japanese, and now you're teaching Japanese, and you have that, all of that involvement in creating Satori Reader. What do you do now, after all that time, to sort of keep leveling up?
Sure. My main thing is reading. So, I try to read challenging books. Actually, I just finished one this past weekend, which was really challenging. I show it to you. I got it right here. It's, this guy, Ikeido Jun?
I don't.
He writes a lot of this one is Kabuka Boraku, which is, it's a little on the old side. I think it's about 10 years old. But he writes a lot of books that are based in business environments. And,
okay.
It's a really cool book. But because I, up until now, have been used to reading detective novels and stuff like that, you go into this other world. I've never worked at a Japanese company. I don't know all the ranks that people have and stuff like that. Right. Is Senmu higher than Jolma?
Oh my God, I know.
And so it's just every time you feel like you're on the top of the mountain, you can see that there's actually another mountain over there.
Right there. Oh, you come over that. I actually love mountain climbing. I think you were saying you like hiking too, but it always happens. You're like, I'm at the top. Oh, there's another 500 meters up.
Yeah, totally.
It's the same thing for sure. I've experienced a similar thing recently. I started, a bunch of people on my Discord recommended visual novels for me. And
cool.
Gaming language is so different from book language, I feel like. I don't know. Or just even spoken language. In a game, the things that they're using, especially if it's a fantasy series, it's just words that I've never seen. Mm-hmm. But I saw you mention in an interview recently, too, that you learn those words, and then you start to see them everywhere.
I know. Yeah.
So then you're like, so I've just been sitting here ignorantly thinking.
Yeah. You're not as rare as I thought. Okay.
No.
It's really a great way to grow in so many ways. And that's really one of the reasons that we started Satori Reader as opposed to just, the next stage of Human Japanese or something.
Right.
We wanted to let people experience that joy of reading. It is amazing. I know I've seen you do videos about reading on the Kindle and stuff like that, so I know you really enjoy it too. But
yes,
when you get drawn into the story, and you get past the point where you're here, and it's like when you're watching a movie and you enter the movies.
Right.
When it happens with reading too, it's just it's such a cool feeling. We had a customer on Satori Reader actually just this past week. A user by the name of Arctagon, and he was saying that for the first time reading, I think it was Kona's Big Adventure, that it was the first time reading in a language that he's not strong with. I guess he speaks multiple other languages, but where he was reading the story and he was following along and visualizing the action and kind of being able to experience it as opposed to just sort of decode it.
Right.
And so that was really awesome to see, and that's the experience that we want to bring to as many people as we can. I've
noticed on Satori Reader, there's a lot of repetition in a good way. Like you'll have in one story, you have a new word, and then it shows up, 2 episodes later and stuff. I don't know if that's intentional or not. I'm assuming it is, but
it is, yeah.
That just builds on the spaced repetition, so you get the double whammy there. Seeing it in context, so much better than just a straight card.
It does. It adds I don't know, it just puts it somewhere else in your brain.
Absolutely.
It puts it. I've heard there are these theories about why rhyming and songs have been a part of human history and culture for so long, and they used to be a big part of the way that people remembered information. In fact, I mean, they still are today, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you think of a little rhyming thing to remember the order of the planets or something like that. And it's
Right.
right. And it's because we're so much better at remembering information if it's part of like a narrative flow,
Right.
like a story. And that whole
Absolutely.
story kind of becomes something that fits into our brain as opposed to the tiny like individual units of data. So
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
you know,
Nobody
so-
learns a language just that their, at least their native language, just points. Yeah, points in a sentence. What's this word? No. They learn it all together, right?
I find myself a lot of times, I mean, I spend a lot of time with these stories, of course, but sometimes I'll just be like, going through life and I'll hear a word that was used in one of the stories. And I can literally hear that sentence and the actor's performance of it, like ringing in my ears. So,
Yep. It puts like a link to it, yeah? Like you hear it and it immediately links back to the place you heard it last.
yes.
I know what you're talking about. Yes.
Yes,
It's
yeah.
a cool little phenomenon.
So I hope that people are experiencing that with Satori Reader.
I think they are. I know I am when I'm reading the stories. All right. Let me ask you this last two questions.
Okay,
Two
okay.
ones. The first one, I really enjoyed this question. It was on Twitter from Matthew Hayes. He asked, a genie snaps its fingers and you forget Japanese. You're banished to an island until you can speak it again. You're given 5 tools, including Human Japanese Intermediate, and Satori Reader. What 2 additional resources do you request for yourself?
Wow. Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know if this is cheating or not, but one resource I would probably bring would be my Japanese wife. Sort of. That's only half
Good
tongue-in-cheek.
answer.
I am quite fond of her, but also as a Japanese language resource, nothing beats being able to have that interactive conversation with someone and see your words instantaneously reflected on the face of somebody else as
Absolutely.
confusion or or them getting it or laughing or being
Yes.
angry or right.
Yes.
And having that real time, you having to work to understand. So that's obviously the number one resource if that's legal.
I think it's legal. I permit it.
Okay, awesome. If you've got Human Japanese 1 and 2 and Satori Reader, then you've got a lot of the grammar and you've got an intro to kanji and you've got some reading material. But one thing that you don't have is just a dedicated kanji resource. And I think that if you're really trying to get up to where you can read well, it would be very helpful to have something where you spend time acquiring kanji, and then Satori Reader is really awesome for like, putting it to use.
Right.
Right. But I don't think Satori Reader is that well adapted or well suited to like the actual acquisition of kanji from nothing.
Yeah.
Right. It's
that
more
makes
like
sense.
practice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Do you have any recommendations for that dedicated kanji resource?
I want to be a little bit diplomatic. We work
Gotcha.
with a couple different apps and that are actually integrated with Satori Reader so that the kanji you learn in them can be synced in as your known characters. So that's a pretty cool feature, and that's Kanshudo and Wanikani. Me personally, I learned kanji like a long time ago, super old school. So I also think that just a paper book can be a great resource.
Yeah.
And part of this is just me not having the experience of like having learned kanji through an app. I'm sure
Right.
there are awesome apps out there. So I think that the most important thing when you're learning kanji is that you learn the readings in the context of ambassador words.
Yes.
That sort of demonstrate those readings.
Yes.
So,
I 100% agree with that.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. So like if the word is miru, the kanji is the one for miru, you would learn miru and ken, but not just you shouldn't just go like miru ken miru, you know.
Right.
And instead, like, learn it in the context of like a word like ikken or something like that,
Yes.
right? Which is also a word that you can put to use right away, and now you have the onyomi for that character baked into some other useful context. So when you learn hakken or kengaku or anything like that, you know, it just feels right. So
100% in agreement. Last question.
okay.
Okay. What is your opinion on the great pitch accent debate?
Ah, yes. Well, you know, that's an interesting question, and I find that it's one of those topics that people sometimes almost, it seems like they feel a little betrayed that they haven't heard about it until now, because a lot of people learn about that sort of late in their career, and they're like, what? Like someone was holding like someone was holding back information from them, you know. And I feel that the reason that they were holding back is that actually on the list of things that are important to learn, it's kind of like a little bit lower on the priority list. Like if we said that pitch accent being correct was like a 5 on some scale of importance,
Right.
getting your vowels right, getting your timing right, getting the grammar of your sentences right, those are like 200.
Right. Yes.
You know, I mean, it's so much more important.
I gave an example once about how I used to say tunnel incorrectly. I used to say it tunneru. And nobody ever knew what I was saying, and I couldn't figure out why. Until someone one day said, you said ta. There's no ta in Japanese. Nobody can even hear what you're saying.
Right.
Tonneru.
Tonneru.
Yes.
Yeah, vowels. Those spaces that are like between the vowels, they're like, it's like you went to like the upside down or something like that.
Yes.
It doesn't register as like any correct, you know. So saying your vowels correctly, it seems so simple, right? But it's so important.
It's huge.
And, you know, and like the timing thing, right? No one is ever gonna make the mistake of confusing like koko and koko.
Right.
But Japanese people get their pitch accents kind of mixed up all the time. Like people will be like, "Are hashi dakke? Hashi?" You know, right? People actually do that, right?
Yes. It's a famous. Japanese people talk about this all the time at like drinking parties and stuff. They'll joke around like hashi. Which one is it? Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
Right? But you're never going to see someone go like, あれ小学校中学校あれ次ここだっけここ高校どっちだっけ right? That's like you will never see that happen no matter how drunk someone is.
Never. Yeah. Gotcha. Agreed.
Right.
Good answer.
But I don't want to take away from people that are doing a big service, you know, in teaching pitch accent. Because it is important if you are really trying to fine tune where you are.
Yes.
I don't want people to feel like it's make or break for being understood, because it's certainly not.
No,
I mean, even Japanese newscasters, there's a dictionary for them to look up and confirm that their pitch accent is correct, because it's not baked into their psyche necessarily.
Right.
You know, and people in different
point.
parts of Japan, you know, have different pitch accents.
I was watching a YouTuber recently from Osaka, and he speaks like standard Japanese in his videos, but his pitch accent is a little bit different on all the words. He starts high on a lot of words that standard Japanese starts low, and it's kind of cute sounding. But yes, it's different all over Japan. I agree that for people who want to fine tune, don't ignore it. Of course, know that it exists, and yeah. But I generally agree with what you're saying.
Cool.
Awesome.